Orb on the Movement to the Earth, Episode 5. Even if I die, this world will continue. Interesting. Come on, Damien. Novak's had a long career. You shut up before I brand you a heretic and burn you at the stake. Novak, I think, knows the real game here. And he'll get ahead and people won't understand why he's ahead because he's not very godlike. This is a godlike society. We're all saying this is a godlike society. Piety is the scale of goodness, and I'm super pious. Novak isn't pious. Why is Novak doing better than me? Well, it's because we're lying or just wrong about what the game is. I think that explains a good chunk of societal bitterness. I did everything I was supposed to. I went to school. I got good grades. I went to university. I have a job. Why don't I feel fulfilled in my life? Or it could be worse. School, grades, university, I don't have a job and now I have debt. You told me that success was guaranteed if I followed the rules. It also can get darker, not based on societal promises, but on like particular family promises. So if kids are brought up being told they are the most specialist little boy in the entire universe and everything that you do is God's gift to humanity, your mission, your service to the world is to exist. The value that you contribute to the world was being born. And you're like, yeah, I am special. I am number one, best boy. And then you take like one step out of your mom's house and you meet a human woman and she's not interested in being in your world, and you're just filled with rage at how stupid she is to not realize you are the specialist boy. Maybe we don't really care so much about godliness in this society as we say we do. Maybe the godliness pursuit is a tool of our actual goal, which is maybe like just compliance or social cohesion and stability. So we'll see the gaps in the matrix when something emerges that is favorable to the actual goal that seems to contradict the stated goal. And then there's another mistake to be made on the other side, which is like, oh, this is what piety actually is. Piety is just societal control. All piety is stupid, complex. What is the true cost of knowledge? We got a little bit of a crisis here. It's a big deal. A huge deal. Doing all this, risking your life for the hint at meaning? You're getting a horse, right? It's cold, man. Horse didn't do anything wrong, unlike those heathens. You kill 4 heathens with 1 horse. Based on the narrative so far, this is the story of how Novak kills every believer. He's not so complacent now. Is this an analogy for hope? Okay. There is no hope. That's no fun. Unfortunate. Oh, why he saved him? The power of faith. You know what scares me about this, though? This also can apply to really grotesque movements. It's not in itself the whole picture, the whole story. Like, I love that it comes from a desire to seek the truth, and the idea of you not being the most important part of the whole picture. There's a whole legacy of humanity to think about. But what if you have a terrible, terrible message? Even in this story, I can imagine there would be people who would sacrifice their own lives to kill the astronomy researchers because they want to protect ideas of God. There's a really important challenge that comes out of this of like, well, how do you even determine what is the actual cost of truth? The way I'm imagining it, anyone can watch this story and gain inspiration for what they already believe, which maybe circumvents the point a little bit. Like, the point would be like deep, painful introspection and burning yourself in the fire of truth. But the reading could be, I already know the truth and I have to burn myself in the world to spread what I already know to be right. This is a crazy thing to say, but like, imagine this show became humanity's new Bible. You might end up having devastating wars about the true interpretation of Orb on the Movements of the Earth. No pressure. He's running. We got ourselves a runner. He just threw it. Even though he gave up, he's still fighting for something. He just couldn't be asked. So much of a hassle. It's raining and... We already, mission accomplished. And we expedited the execution. We saved the taxpayers' money, maybe. Wow. This show has a very violent Matrix red pill, blue pill thing happening where there's really no choice. It's like, you're going to help me with this research or I'm going to kill you. Or like, I literally got stabbed so you could have this information. As if Morpheus grabbed Neo's throat and force fed him the red pill. You're going to eat it and you're going to like it. I'm going to stomp you into this rabbit hole and you're going to find out how deep it really goes. Not to say there isn't some choice still involved in this. They could still take the blue pill, all of them. Well, this has been a day. I guess we're astronomers now. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
やり直したいかと問われたらそうではなく、おそらく何度繰り返しても同じ選択をしただろうから、この謝罪は誠実さを欠いている。その点も大変申し訳ないと思ってる。
So maybe it was the choice you always would have made.
グラさん!
Maybe keep it down a little bit.
これか。
The box. Pandora's box. Everyone adds a little something. Step by step, standing on the shoulders of the people before you.
何の図だ?
This is their life beyond their death.
10年前の
This will
最近の方をくれるか
be easy once we figure out how to read.
くそ、目が
Stop rubbing it.
はじめに、私はこの石箱の制作者ではない。
It is a collaborative work. Rafal is still alive, as is Hubert.
好奇心に駆られた私はその山へ向かい、そしてこの
Imagine
箱
actually
に出
finding
会
a
ったの
chest
である。
on this vague hunch.
もしこの発見のせいで私が死んだとしても、この発見のおかげで私は幸福な命だったと断言できる。
It's a very tangible, meaningful contribution that you can make. And I think a lot of people are looking for that. I mean, I think I see the analogy they're going for, especially with the episode title. And I wholeheartedly agree, and I love this idea. It feels weird to call them lucky, given the way their lives play out. But just in terms of the beauty they found in this particular pursuit, one of the really nice, fortunate elements of it for them is that it's very, very tangible of a contribution. One idea I really like that I think would add to this is that almost everyone has that impact already anyway, in terms of the severity and long-lasting impacts of one's actions, which can be good or bad or neutral. But we have a skewed, not accurate perspective of that because typically it's not traceable like this is, right? Like if you can make a major contribution to science, well then you've made a major contribution to science and you like point to that contribution, but you have an interaction with someone and you're kind to them. What is your contribution? You don't really know, so the automatic assessment is that it's zero contribution, but that's almost certainly not the case, or at least not always the case if you think about your life and all your interactions, etc. The net effect is probably incredibly profound. The fortune of finding this also, I think, plays into the idea of focus, because from that point on he knows what he wants his contribution to be, as opposed to a general, less specific, be a good person and do my best type thing. It's really exciting. It's fun to feel even temporarily that you know what your lane is and you know how you're contributing. You know what you're doing and why it means so much to you. I think one of the reasons why we envy typical heroes in grand epic stories like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, etc. is for that reason. It's because somebody arrives on their doorstep and is like, this is the one. Here you go. And I think because of this model, sometimes we end up waiting a little bit too long, thinking that any day now something will arrive on my doorstep. Where part of this skill is abstracting that a little bit and seeing that as a journey of your own making. Like you kind of have to hand yourself the ring, in many cases at least. It starts like one step back from there of like, what is my ring? What do I actually want? What would be a goal so great I would be willing to walk through mortar for it? It's very significant that these two were introduced arguing and thinking about meaning. And the other two dudes, they just find this and be like, yeah, no, let's go find a town with food and whatever. No!
捨てるのか?
Speaking of which, what do you think we're doing here right now?
私が引き継ごう。
Also, it's kind of funny that a lot of their conversations in the last episode were about the refutation of meaning. And all it took was having this little quest to immediately fill them with emergent meaning as evidenced by their actions. Like, they have to proceed in this mission because this is now their life. Whatever they rationalize about meaning, they sure aren't acting like there's no meaning. You might argue that no one really does.
この星空の秘密を捧げる。
Wow, what an opening.
なお、これにより利益が生じた場合、その1割をポトツキに贈与すること。
Wow, that's amazing. To think about his father. That's incorporating Hubert's philosophy in a way, right? Potaki was the wrong answer. That's not the end of the story.
そして我々の今後についてだが、
We live in the forest now.
今の状況を利用して全てを逆転できるかもしれん。
I like your optimism.
見せるべき相手に見せれば大手柄をくれるやもしれん。そして
Or it could
箱
be
の
death.
内容も知れる。
Probably death.
そんな都合のいい相手いますか?
You can't exactly advertise.
私が惑星について尋ねた修道士だ。名は確かバデーニ。
Badani.
彼は少し前に左遷されてな。理由は素行不良と思想上の禁忌。
Contrarian thought, the biggest evil of all. Get in line and know your place. As everyone knows, if you're not with us, you're against us. If you don't study hard, you're never going to mount anything in life. This academic year is the most important year of your entire life. If you don't agree with all 100 points in this ideological framework, you're bad and you should feel bad. What's really fun about contrarian thought sometimes, though, is that you end up playing out the adventure cliche of like, you return to the same place only to know for the first time. You reject a thing because you start to spot the discrepancies. Through a lot of trial and error, you arrive at some sort of workable insight or wisdom that's really rich and useful, and then you're trying to explain it to someone, and the best way to explain it is through the cliche that you initially rejected. And you're like, oh, it wasn't wrong, I just didn't understand it. There's an interesting logistical question of like, is it ever possible to skip that process? It would be so much more efficient if we could just like hear the aphorism and like know it in its depth right away. But that just doesn't seem to be how it works. If you really want to save the world and make a contribution, forget like working on tech stuff, work on that, figure that problem out. How to actually get people to learn without trial and error, without either force or manipulation or emotional coercion or lying, so that they can skip all that time and get to a really beautiful place where they're firing on all cylinders much, much earlier.
どうかしたかい?
いや、混乱してて。
Understandable.
冷静になれば俺、
What are we doing up
こ
here?
の先もついていく必要はあんまないというか。
It's a fair question. After all, there's no meaning to
グラス
any
さ
of
んが
this.
決めてくれますか？どっちがいいか。
Yes, you should.
二人の方が安全なので同行していただけるとありがたいが。
It sounds like what he's really asking for there
では
is
そう
like
します。
not to have to make a difficult decision. It's not what's the right decision. It's please do the work for me.
空が見られない
Oh
んです。
yeah, right. The weight, the crushing existential weight of the stars. They are eyes. Orbs are eyes. They are looking at you.
大地に生きている人間を蔑むような目に見えて。
That's so interesting, man.
おか
It's
し
so
な
interesting.
話ですな。
No, I get it.
それ以前は空は見られたのかい?
はい。
That was a very weird awakening.
もう一度空を見たいとは思わないのかい?
Only every day.
怖いんでいいです。
せっかく好き
You don't
だ
look
っ
at the
たん
beauty
だ。見
because
切る
of
には惜しい
what
じ
it
ゃな
will
いか。
reveal. It's a purifying, painful light.
だが私も昔家族を失ってね。好きなものを失う辛さはわかるよ。
These are not the same, but okay.
大したことないです。所詮この世のことなんで。
Oh, but we're making some link though between family and the stars. Right. We've established this.
愛しい家族を奪ったこの世を呪ってた。だが考えてみれば、愛しい家族と出会えたのもこの世だ。
Interesting
家
dilemma.
族と過ごしたこの世を否定したくない。難しいことかもしれないが、もう一度この世を肯定したいんだ。
If I'm reading this right, it's kind of funny that one of them is afraid to look at the stars because it will just burn apart his false salvation. And the other looks at the stars as a vehicle for some narrative he's forming that offers him some false salvation. Or at least he was. Maybe that is part of what makes their pairing so special. Because it will take both of them, right? They have this yin-yang strengths, weaknesses going on thing where Oxy, he doesn't want to be deluded. He doesn't want to risk believing in something that will let him down. Whereas Grass is really looking for it, right? But like, he's sort of quick to attach to things that are letting him down. Like, oh, well, there's a perfection in the orbit of Mars. In real life, the way the spectrum sometimes plays out is the cynical versus the delusional. Like everything is stupid. If you believe in this, you're just an idiot. Everything that people are trying to convince me of is just, it doesn't hold up. It's just dumb. So there's nothing. Versus like, everything is sunshine and rainbows and I'm happy. I'm very happy. Everything is great. Everything's going fine. This is the only answer. This is the only answer we need. I will burn you. Whereas I think the harmonious union of the two of them is finding and being convinced of beauty doesn't require lying. And also not having found something yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It might just mean you need to keep looking.
この世は汚れてる。なぜなら神様がそうお作りになられたからだ。歴史上の頭のいい人たちが出した事実です。
Appeal to authority. Rejected.
この世を諦めてしまっているのか?
He's trying. He's really trying. That's why he can't look up.
はい。この世で待っているのは喪失だ
He
けど。
feels it. It's a
しかも
self-lie.
人はどうせすぐ死んで天国か地獄へ行くので。
Hello?
いつか出ていくこの世への思いを持つことに何の意味がある? 死後に残るのは自分抜きの世界だけだ。
Is that all? Is that the only thing?
希望なんて。
So worthless, so small, and nothing.
もしかしてそれがここを渡ればもう村だ。
これでとりあえず一安心です、
You're
ね。
never safe in this world if you're exploring heliocentrism, the most dangerous activity known to man. This bridge also not looking too safe.
私が無理やり巻き込んだ。だか
I
ら
mean,
ここからは
He
君に選ん
asked
でほ
you
し
to
い。
choose which was his choice. This is an important question, though, yeah. You gotta make your own decisions, man.
今回の経緯と石箱の
Stop
こと
running
を
away
教
from
会
the
に
weight.
通報する。そうすれば町に戻れるかもしれないし、君は天国に近づく。
でもそんなことしたらグラスさんは。
Probably death.
二つ目は
This is very directly red pill, blue pill. Yeah, this bridge is not safe, I told you. Yeah, you got bigger problems right now.
二つ目を手短に言う。
We're continuing with the scheduled red pill, blue pill choice.
一つ目全部無視してこの世界に期待することだ。
Are these two things in the same category? You can report me, or you can believe in the world. We almost had a normal red pill, blue pill choice. Almost. And now we're dangling from a bridge. From a book, like the room collapsed and Morpheus was hanging on for dear life to the red pill, like a rope.
再びその目で空を見てくれ。
Whoa. Those instincts, though. If life has no meaning, what are you doing right now?
何してるんですか。
What are you doing?
託してる。
He said it. He said the word.
人はいつか死んでここを去る。でも私が死んでもこの世界は続く。だったらそこに何かを託せる。それが喪失まみれのこの世界から生まれたある種の希望だ。
A fun way to play this is with DNA, because we all instantly, intuitively know about DNA transference and physical survival of DNA, and that being an imperative for life. Well, you can like take that same pattern and apply it to a bunch of other things. You actually don't need to be genetically related in order to pass on a type of DNA, which is ideals. And just in so many ways too. I mean, even ideals is sort of tangible. Just your actions are a sort of DNA into the gene pool of event.
託すって誰に？俺ですか？期待されても困る。
I can't even read.
保証なんて全くない。
That's a choice.
君の顔はまだ死を恐れてるからだ。
He's terrified. Yeah. And he's terrified of meaning too. He's terrified that actually his life has some value. I mean, it's just water, right? Water doesn't kill villains, and we're not even a
これ
villain.
が私の
So water only kills good
運
people?
命だ。
That's how it is, isn't it? I didn't want this. I didn't want any burden of responsibility and choice and having to believe in goodness. I've been working so hard to avoid all that stuff. Are you sure? I don't see a body. You're breaking two rules right now. No body and fell into water. He's almost definitely alive.
お客さんですよ、バデーニさん。
そんな予定はないですが。
Not gonna lie, from the intro, I was kind of hoping this was Rafal who survived, but...
どちら様？何の用で？
Look, I've had a day. Very strange allegiance and pairing. It's so funny how it's the furthest thing from anything he wants, at least on a conscious level. But you know, again, beliefs and emergent beliefs. He has these inclinations to spite himself. And in fact, one of the reasons why he's being so overt in what he wants to believe is precisely because of those feelings that are creeping up and how much they scare him because of how meaningful they actually are to him. What they might suggest. Here's one thing I'm still sort of thinking about and struggling with this whole thing, because I do totally agree about how there's something like a DNA that is more than just genetics, you know, the DNA of action, the DNA of belief, and how important legacy is and how much the world means outside of you and how much world there is outside of you and how much world there will be after you. In this situation, his argument seems to be, well, it'll live on through you. There is a very clear input where I picked up the torch, I passed the torch to you, and that makes it all worth it, and that's what gives it hope. But then what about situations where there's no perceived input, where no one will know about your sacrifice? What if Hubert and Rafal had never left that chest? Does that diminish their actions? Does it diminish the beauty of what they did and what they stood for and believed in? I want to say it doesn't. One idea I'm playing with is that the ideals themselves have an objective reality greater than humans and greater than the events themselves. Like there are just emergent patterns in the world. Like I mentioned with leaves and veins and highways, that is just the best way for like transmission and surface area. There's a very good reason why it occurs this way in nature. Though it's harder to pin down and outline explicitly, you might guess that the same will apply to human values of belief and conduct, etc. And if that's the case, if we're getting the beauty and the value from the raw existence of nature itself, then it's a good thing to follow it no matter what the outcome or whether or not there's anything to receive your input, because you're just one tiny node in a great web, and your dream, your hope, your faith is that enough people will follow those values so that it crosses over into some critical mass. And so your deliberation about whether or not this is practical or effective in the moment is irrelevant to the code of law from the universe that you must follow it, and that in itself has a divine judgment of being good and beautiful. Though that's really hard. That's a really hard argument to make based on the way we usually think, which is very outcome determined and life preserving and tangible and quantifiable. I mean, even saying this out loud, right? I don't fully buy that, because let's say Rafal had just died and no one knew he died and his research was gone. A big part of me would have been screaming, he should have just lied. And nevertheless, something deep inside me feels like that's an incomplete reading.